Let's call it to order, May 15, start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a vote for the agenda. For any comments or changes?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And consent agenda minutes, the July 14th meeting, please, Thursday.
All right, just have a quick comment. I just did a little bit of exploration on some of our legal stuff, but I can mention briefly, if you can mention this a little bit, I was working that with the response. Just understanding some money was spent on job ad.
Oh, and claims,
Yeah.
which, curious which.
Do you want to mention what's up?
Yeah, so, there was, I'm assuming the question arose out of the project not going forward, but there being legal fees. So that was focused on, the effort to, address the recruitment issue that the county, had requested that and working through some of the background law and assisting, the administration with the response.
Yeah, there's a little bit extra, but it's good extra, very important. That's it, all I had. I just want to mention it to my colleagues. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we go accept public comment. If anyone would like to address us this morning, if you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen.
Chair, I wonder if we can entice Brian to talk about his fires memo.
Well, it's, we don't pressure the public.
No pressure on the public.
But it's always divided.
Anyway.
And, there will of course be another opportunity later in the meeting. I'm not. Like, we're just back here, going in the room, okay, give it a second. In that case, we'll close public comment and move on to our general manager report.
All right, good morning, commissioners. Well, first I want to start with thanking our IT group. They put a lot of work into reconfiguring the room and the IT setup, along with the audio and the visual. So a lot of work went into that. It's easy to ask for the table to be moved, but it comes with a lot of strings attached as far as the IT. So our IT group worked hard to get that set up to where we have today.
Looks great.
Looks great.
So
Dual monitors.
definitely a big improvement.
Is this new, the second monitor?
Well, we borrowed it from Garrett's office.
So basically Garrett's gonna have to be working in here from now on, is that what we're
Our
gonna?
goal is to see how this works and, and if it's beneficial to have a second, smaller monitor in the room from a different angle of the room, then we'll look to, see if we can add a second, visual in here. But hopefully get Garrett's, screen back, because he actually uses that for engineering work.
That's great, right? Pretty cool, yeah, well, we may not need it, but,
Yeah, we'll get a Best Buy floor model. Right, we'll save money.
okay.
But moving on, Kurt's out, so here we'll be filling in for Kurt's, operation.
Yeah, so Mike, we want to throw up that photos we got? Alright, so we're gonna go over a couple quick operations aspects. Plant 2 washdown line replacement, it's the first one. If you want to go to the next slide, Mike. So historically, when we rebuilt the plant, we had washdown hydrant lines put in the basins. We do washdowns, 4 to 5 times a year. Those lines were PVC. They were not rated for the pressures that the hydrants run at. So we were constantly having cracking. You look at that top right, that's where it split. So most recently, we just finished up with WRS, going through and replacing all that with HDPE SDR 11, which is right up to 200 PSI. We run those on average about 150 on spikes. Then we just pressure tested. We're going through the process of replacing some of the hydrants themselves now. Some of the valves have been blown out with long-term use. So that has been accomplished in the last 2 weeks. This is going to be a huge safety factor for water operators, especially when they're operating these hydrants. We don't want any sort of line pressures building up and exploding near them at that time. So we did that. It was a long time coming. So we were happy to use the HTTP. WRS did great work on that one.
So what did you replace that? What was your previous material?
PVC.
And, when, in the, I had a question. I don't know. Oh, you said, the peak pressure is 150
Yeah,
or?
the peak pressure we operate at is 150. The HDPE that we installed it in is rated up to 200 PSI.
How do you know what the peak pressure is?
We actually have gauges attached to that line, so. Next slide, Mike. Next one is the Hunter Vault repair. We actually have a resolution later on in the agenda for this one. We finished that up with PNP excavating. We had a customer line break, and at the time of them doing the repair, we found out our valve was going through. It's kind of hard to see, but in that last photo, you can kind of see that break behind the guy standing there. Yeah, and so that's the actual vault looking down in there. We replaced the customer's valve with a new valve, and we actually fed a couple of new customers through that process too, that were being fed kind of a roundabout way through the existing line, so that way we have a clean metering detail for all our irrigation customers. We use the emergency repair to the best ability to counteract two major problems on top of the emergency problem that we're running into. So, worked out well. That is good to go. We're operating it now, so everyone's back up and running at full strength. So
I'm a little confused. The break is not in the vault.
no, so the break is on the customer side. So the customer actually had a line break,
Okay,
and then during his repair, when he went to go do the repair, we went to shut off our valve.
right.
And our valve is still bleeding through significant amounts, so we had to replace our valve. That's where our emergency repair came in place.
There was no leak, it just wasn't, the valve wasn't functioning.
Yeah, the valve would not seat fully, so. Which it was a 1965 valve, so no major surprise there. Next slide, Mike. And then we just finished up the plant one intake dive, so the divers went through, they did a full clean of the gallery. And then they did an inspection and clean of the fish screens. And on top of that, replaced a couple of the damaged braided airlines we have for our intake blow-offs. They get damaged periodically through the sediment debris and everything running through. The one thing I don't have photos to send you guys, I'll show you guys at this point, is the vegetation management. We just got done mowing out our entire 115 line, so that's all accomplished for the year. It's a yearly thing to do. We mowed around the intake here as well as the stormwater retention ponds on this location. And then the next step in the next month or so will be the tree trimming and clearing along the 115 line. So that's it for operations. Oh, on a side note, I completely forgot, we submitted the DOE grant as well. So we have that EV grant submitted and we're waiting on results probably mid-October. So.
How many miles of line maintenance do we have as far as tree trimming?
Total, so in total tree trimming, we have a 15 miles of 115. Realistically, I would say about 3 or 4 miles of that is going to be vegetation management on our end. The rest, as Jamie knows, you guys maintain your area. A lot of the easements that we have maintenance by the actual homeowners. So.
All right, any more questions for Garrett?
Thank you, Gary.
Okay,
Thank you for your service of your monitoring.
Of course.
Thank you very
all right, I have a couple of just information items for the commissioners. Andrew and I have engaged, the Whatcom County, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee, or, CEDS. And, you may remember that that the CEDS committee develops a 5-year economic strategy plan. And it is coming due, the current plan is expiring at the end of this year. So a new plan is being developed. We've been asked for our inputs along with the different municipalities and tribal members and some other groups within the county. And I do have examples of what we submitted for the last one, just to refresh your memory. There. And one for the meter, you can get that down to it. But it's pretty basic. It's a single page. There's one trailing item on the second page. So it's very high level. Our inputs will be focused on infrastructure and resiliency efforts that we have planned within our strategic plan, including plant one. I'll keep you informed of what that submission looks like. But that effort's ongoing right now. There's plenty of time to change the submissions, but the first round of submissions were due yesterday. So we have a draft that we've submitted to the CEDS committee, and we'll continue working with them, and I'll keep you informed.
Well, we're not planning any EDI submissions, even though EDI is referenced here. That's for future.
So everything that we're gonna submit is gonna be consistent with our strategic plan and things that we've already either discussed or talked about, studies or anything like that, but
We're not asking for any funding from EDI there.
no, it'd be whatever's in our outlay.
What are the headings?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can get that to you. That's a good point. I just took the snapshot out of the master document. But it's the area and parties involved.
That's the number there, right?
Yeah, at the top. I'll get that to you. So estimated dollar amount.
Oh.
And any state or federal entities involved over there on the far right. So, but just for your awareness, that's happening, that we're engaged with our partners within the county. Let's see here. Andrew and I have also engaged the APPA E program manager that is funded through Energy Northwest. There's a program aside from our regular APPA membership. There's a DEED program, which stands for Demonstration of Energy and Efficiency Development. And these are grant opportunities that range from $1,000 to $125,000 grants for analysis, study, or actual projects that may fit the bill for their what they call the DEED program. We're in early stages of talking to them. It requires roughly a $900 membership fee in addition to what we already pay to APPA. But in return, you don't just get access to grant money, you get access to actual grant information that's already happened and advisement on how to put in for grants and develop your business proposals. And so $1,000 could go a long way towards us getting 10 or 20 times that much money in grant money. So we're looking at this. I haven't obligated anything, but Andrew's out this week. I suspect over the next couple of weeks, we'll probably make a determination about whether or not we want to actually move forward. And I think that falls in line with some of the discussions that the commission has had in the last couple of meetings about your desires to find some revenue to pay for some studies.
Mm-hmm.
So this would probably line up with that.
I like the sound of it, $900 well spent.
Yeah,
Annually, yeah. But still, I understand it's still in the session, but thank you for letting me know.
Yeah. That's really it's part of a bigger effort Andrew's role shifting to the part of his role is business development and trying to find opportunities like this. So.
Any other comments on that?
All right.
Keep going.
And this one's hot off the press yesterday. So it's not in the agenda. But there's a Wabuda general manager's special meeting, being, set up, to discuss, the Columbia River strategy. As part of the Columbia River Treaty, between the United States and Canada. That treaty, I think was originally ratified in the mid-60s and, has come due. We have an agreement in principle, or an AIP as it's referred to, between the United States and Canada, but it has not been ratified. And that AIP has been in place for 2 years and expires in September of next year. There's general concerns about, the way forward with, river management. This treaty is specifically about, controlling water as it relates to flooding and water management and the management of the water available for hydroelectric operations. I don't really see any mention about fish and habitat. I think that's separate. And but whatever decisions made about, within this AIP and consummating a new treaty, it's gonna have an impact to us, right? And all of our constituents within Waputa and, just general residents in Washington State as a whole. So anything that happens on the Columbia is going to impact us. So, I think that focus of Waputa is, how's this look for rates? How's it look for resiliency, for the availability of power to the PUDs that EPA services? So, but just make you aware that discussion is happening. And, when I have more information, I'll report it.
Commissioner?
Yes, I have some thoughts on that subject. The 3 PUDs that generate power on the Columbia River system, Grand, Douglas, Chelan. As inclined. Yeah, have been, they submitted their own, so there was a first round of negotiations, so there was 7. And then those 3 PUDs stepped outside and they settlement and raised concerns. Specifically identified things having to do with this water discharge. That, they felt like they were losing control over, generation. Having less control over discharges. And working with the Canadians, than they would like. So anyway, I just want to bring that up, and my question is. Has where they stopped the negotiation, when the new administration took over, they kind of suspended it. Is this basically is the federal government now restarting the negotiations with the Canadian government, and this is to kind of get the reassess where the PUD Association is on that? Is that what this meeting's about?
I think this meeting is, to discuss this, because this particular GM committee, addresses, federal issues, within Waputa, right? So that's why the GMs are pulled in. They're specifically the committee for federal issues. I don't know, if there's already been engagement with the federal authorities. I do think that, Waputa is collectively a part of, the power group. And I think this may be something that's going to be funneled through the power group, to engage lawmakers, in Washington on the issues related to this treaty. So I don't have all the details. But that's my understanding, is this would all flow through the power group, and they would do the advocacy toward, for lawmakers in DC.
The only other thing I want to say is that, there's one aspect of our relationship with the Canadian government, Whatcom PUD, potentially. And activities in Canada that, is an opportunity for us. I don't think typically when I've raised this issue, in the past, it seems like there's no nexus between what I'm about to describe and the Columbia River Treaty, but I just want to bring it up again, and that is that in the future, there's certainly a potential for PUDs to on the, walk from Skagit, Snohomish to receive power from Canada and upgrading or increasing the capacity of transmission lines that go north-south from Canada. New generation has come online in Canada and they will eventually consume it. But in the meantime, there might be some opportunities for folks in Northwest Washington. So my general thinking is that I understand that Douglas Grant and Chilling have their own interests, which usually align very tightly with the rest of the treaties, but I don't want to piss off the Canadians because what I want is power supply in our neck of the wood. So just wanted to say that. Yeah, and the pushback in the Columbia River Treaty has been effectively if you control more water, if you control the water more on that side, that opens it up for generation for them, because they haven't, one of these, they haven't installed generation on the north side of the border. Is because they don't get to control release. A lot of the release decisions are made on the other side of the border. Water flow. And so, if you can't generate power if you don't know when, whether you have it or not in advance. So installation of a lot of the dams on the north side of the border do not generate power. Most of them don't. So as a result of that, there's opportunities for them to generate no power if they control their water. And the PUDs on this side of the border want to control the water, so they generate more power. They have more power production. So that's kind of like you got to control the water to generate power.
Yeah, I can see how
So
us being the border county, it's an opportunity for us particularly.
we're tiny bugs in the world of PUDs too, and I'm just saying that in the degree that our opinion matters, which is very little. It's worth me bringing up this point.
I think that's a good thing for the point of, power does cross the border at one east Mass, and with a high voltage transmission system, just, obviously to jump over the border, right? And where there's those opportunities, it would make sense for us to, make sure that DC Hydro or the authorities who might, base there know about Whatcom PUD and that, so yeah, this conversation through Wakuda, when it comes up, that would make sense to just probably a little bit outside the scope of the Columbia.
Maybe just more monitor it,
Just
be aware of it rather than raise anything maybe.
Because it could affect and.
But whatever decisions are made, that they will directly impact the acquisition cost of our power through VPN. Right, and then that would be a
That's the direct.
pass-through benefit or cost to our customers, depending on how those treaty negotiations go. Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, yes.
So we will be directly impacted in some way.
To use some engineering lingo, the first order effect that we should be concerned about is what you just said. I'm probably talking about a third order.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? An order of at least an order of magnitude smaller opportunity has to do with Canadian relations, but I want to bring it up.
Yep. Okay.
So thank you for sending the note about that too, and. Yeah, I just look forward to hearing, what's coming out of that and. I'm glad you're just saying to that as a. Or do you have additional something?
Only that, just a reminder, the Washington, Water Future Initiative is ongoing. Actually at 9 o'clock, they're doing the economic and business, side of those interviews with different groups, at 9 a.m. starting today, so we'll miss that one. We have, an upcoming, meeting on the 13th, and then there's, I've been invited to the in-person one for the NUCSAC at Western Washington, on the 17th. So those are still ongoing. I think you have all the links for those meetings. I intend on trying to attend as many of those as I can, but I may get pushed and pulled where I can. I'll definitely get one on the 17th.
You know, as far as, the one on 13th, I've heard that there's some, shift in, potential shift in the content as well as the, attendees of that meeting.
Yeah, that one's titled Utility and Government, I believe.
So I don't think I have the latest. Have you gotten any recent updates on that meeting of the 13th?
I think I received something late last week. So let me take a second look at that. I don't know if it's changed.
Yeah, and could you send that out to us?
Yeah,
And I know Carl talked to us all, and I don't think Carl has any role on the 13th event. He has some role with the 17th event, right? Eddie?
Sorry,
Carl Weiner has no involvement in the 13th event. He has an involvement in the 17th event. Is that correct?
right, yeah, I mean, it'll be in the Whatcom focused one.
The 13th event is purely led by the governor, and the 17th event is led by local people. Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
I would, yeah, check.
I believe it's good.
Okay. Thank you.
all right. That's all I have.
Okay, well. Moving to all business, do we have an update on the adjudication?
The only update is that they're still talking about the same procedural issues that they were on Friday steering committee. The same procedural issues as to discovery. I mentioned a couple times, I feel bad. That's the only update I have for you. Okay. So that's the only update I have.
Okay,
I have a update on broadband. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting. And SB under old business.
I guess procedurally, there's no problem with that, right? Since that's typical, that's, you know, it's typically old business. Is there a point of order on that?
So it's totally up to you, how, as a body, how formally you want
I
to.
mean, yeah, with the amendment, and then the agenda anyway. What's your update?
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, one of the things, so there's this interlocal agreement, there's no updates on that. Conversations are continuing. When I think the best person to update you all on where things are at with that and the, non-deployment funds would be, when Andrew's back from vacation, because I know he's been attending meetings on that subject, so I'm not gonna give an update there. I will mention that, a timely matter is that the Port of Bellingham had, two projects, North Linden and Ferndale. Which, were also struggling. And, there were conversations, solutions that were presented to potentially rescue that. Unfortunately, the note, I spoke to the broadband office, and what I learned is that the termination of those projects occurred at the beginning of June.
Okay.
By the port. And, I would choose as a commissioner of Whatcom PUD to not make any further comment about that.
The port terminated the project?
Yeah. And so unfortunately, there's no way to rescue the port project. I don't know where to go to comment.
Well, that's like good to know, and good that you're tracking that. Okay, well, any staff comments on?
I think a lot of that work was actually a part of the graders, the careful as we develop our inputs, that we put inputs in there that are, you know, actionable goals that we can actually achieve. I think there's a lot, if you review that body of work, that probably, maybe didn't happen. So, at least from the PUD, right, I wanna make sure that we're putting things in there that are, realistic, that we actually can get done, or want to strive to get done. So, but I think it's unfortunate if that was in the plan and we came up short. It's good to try though. But I'm not sure what it's connected to. But a lot of the broadband effort was identified in the 5-year plan that was laid out for the county. It's unfortunate we came up short.
More at a future meeting.
Yeah, yeah, that was on the future agenda.
Maybe we will put in, if it's okay, yeah, put it on the agenda for the next meeting, since it's not on the agenda. I just want to make a quick point about the board, but I also suggest for our next commission meeting, in early August, we add a, broadly update.
Let's make note of that then, yeah, and you know, as always, you know, since we sort of updated the agenda format to, you know, select which old business items would be on in advance, you know, just like, I think a good way is just if any one of the three of us wants to email
Yeah, and by,
staff before they make sure it's appointed with being on the agenda. And granted with broadband, even if we're, you know, terminated our project, we're still a relevant partner or relevant entity, right, in the ongoing local conversations between, you know, other units in Fort and County, right? And,
right,
we continue to keep tabs on it, even if, there isn't an update from staff, right? It seems appropriate, right?
right, and it's completely my mistake, that we have it on the agenda, because, Joseph now is sending out this email, which I very much appreciate, about the agenda, and so I could have responded then.
It's all good, yeah, the same, so,
But
but we can make a point that, obviously, you know.
I wanna stay in my lane when it comes to projects and other government entities, but I am curious to know what the issues were with the ports community projects, because I'm sure they're very different than the issues that we had with ours, so,
Yeah,
and maybe I just need to ask you. But if, I mean, as somebody that can also, you know, deploy broadband, it would be,
I do a lot of thinking on my bike, and some of that thinking should stay in my head, and, on the ride in this morning, I'd say that, that I'm gonna say this. Project manager is really, really important. We did an exceptional job, because you guys know I was on it. And I think our staff did an exceptional job of project managing the Point Roberts project. And, there was a champion at Port who, and she really did an exceptional job. Again, of not letting any, you know, bad multitasking occur, or, the term I like to use basically means that you never leave anything on your plate. You always clear your plate. If you're on the critical path. And, that's really important when you're working with these complex governmental projects. And so, yeah, when staff changed, some of that capability went away. So. And, yeah, I think as people who are implementing these, funded state and federally funded broadband projects will tell you across the PUDs in Washington State, they'll tell you, you gotta be on it constant. If you want your project to succeed, you can't drop the ball. And I think that, excellent project management is the key to success. Easy. So. That's further about
That's, yeah, We can all agree with that.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, okay, I guess we're gonna move it now and noting, I think we have recess next on our agenda and we're all moved pretty quickly this morning. How do folks feel? Do we wanna
I think we should keep moving on.
just keep moving?
We can take these off.
Yeah, I think, I'm sure that our new business is gonna probably take a little bit of time, but perhaps if, I don't know if it was Annette gonna join us for the next item, we need a minute to sort of set up anyway.
I don't know, these struggles, joining on teams, there's.
Good morning, commissioners. If we wanted to go ahead with this, about a month ago, we had started off, kind of kicked off our budget discussion, and it was requested that we give some time so you could review the strategic plan and how you wanted that to influence the 27 budget. So basically what we're having now is just a opportunity to hear back from you if you have any more direction or comments on the 27 budget. So I have my notebook ready to take notes.
Okay, well, yeah, let's move on to new business and, hear about the 2027 budget, please, Annette. Oh, I mean, sorry, as far as like, you just want to hear from us.
Yes.
Um, uh,
Where do you want the money?
yeah, okay, commissioners.
Maybe
Well, the main thing that I already
it's
brought up.
studies,
Yeah.
yeah. I agree. I think I brought up something that's particularly interesting to me when it came to that, and that was water storage, but specifically with electric generation. Is that too like risking?
I think that's what I'm saying, let's get into the specifics of it at, at another time, but it's just a question of the budgeting exercise, I just think it's important to have some money allocated for this purpose, and then for us to move as an organization beyond having that be purely ad hoc or tactical, and figure out how to make it more strategic. And, we're a special purpose district, so it's hard to do that, I recognize that, so that's, it may not problem will resolve this, will resolve this year. But it's something I want us to start doing.
Tony is the guy who's stepping into this role, that's looking at our strategic plan, that's looking at the budget. So that's, yeah, literally looking at the strategic plan. Where do you see a need for budget allocation? Where do you see, I'm sure you have your own special projects. I know.
I have some
Chris did
ideas.
too. Right.
I do think, well, first let's talk about opportunity, budget opportunity. As we talked about earlier, the payback with the counties in question, from the broadband project. Separately, earlier this year, we received $300,000 from a lawsuit, right? And so that money's kind of there, in lieu of what happens with the recoup with the county, right? So, and then I haven't even had a chance to talk about this, but there's a possibility we could pull that $300,000 from the lawsuit towards whatever the commission deems we would use it for. That's probably not going to meet every single study and everything we want to do. I can burn through $300,000 on engineering work pretty quickly, but it's a pot of money, right, to look at. And so I think that's contingent upon the outcome of the recoupment. So let's just walk with the idea that, well, there's some money. That's not directly tied to water or other revenue that we have the latitude to spend. And I do think that we have increasing usage on our tier one flow from BPA that's going to transition to tier two rates. And I think there's an opportunity to take a look at how we can do some power offsets, say with battery storage, things like that. I think we need to study that to find out if there's a possibility in which we could offset tier two rates and actually end up cost effectively paying for the battery storage and lowering our customers' rates, right? But take a look at that. So there's an opportunity, it's something we can study. And I don't have my notes with me, but I did take notes for your ideas that I think it was 2 commission meetings ago where you talked about your initial thoughts on the budget inputs. But I think that came to roughly $120,000 in that brainstorming that what you're kicking around. So
I have another request.
Okay.
I think that we need to hire a lobbyist to specifically work on the regional exemption to the Foster decision.
Would you say more?
Well, I don't think that the state legislature will sort of overturn the Foster decision, but it's really important in our region that we are able to store water. And I mean, due to flooding, due to drought, like it's very important for this region. And in order to do that, we have to have an exemption to the Foster decision. And we've talked about it multiple times, maybe I've said it too quietly, but it means it's becoming a very serious need in our area. And I don't, I'm gonna meet with Carl Weimer tomorrow and we'll probably chat about things like this, but it's time that people put some money behind actual lobbying over that and not just us showing up.
So you can, maybe if I can help
Sure.
explain and add please, augment what I'm saying. What this is about is in Washington State, when you withdraw water, you have to replace the water
In my time.
in the same time, at the same place. So obviously that makes it really hard to take it from here, store it. And then put it back in when it's more beneficial.
Right.
And I think it's pretty intuitively clear that between, let's say, November, mid-November, for sure, I'm saying quite often earlier than that, but between mid-November and mid-April, I guess. If I don't have the charts in front of me, but let's say in that time, there's plenty of water. And plenty of water stored. And everywhere. in the system. And so we should do that. But it's nearly impossible to do those kind of things. So one way to solve this problem is to take advantage of our current adjudication to allow us to be a laboratory, figure out ways as a county to move water around for both protection of the ecosystem as well as providing the water needs of the community. And so it's lower risk to let Whatcom County try it first. it's a complicated policy initiative that we can't expect someone's gonna deal with for. And the PUD is uniquely positioned because we are, uh, relatively come off as a neutral party. And the water supply to carry this. There is political risk associated with too, any initiative. But I support what you're saying.
Yeah, I know that there's political risk, and I care less about the political risk than the people that are being looked at.
I care about the political risk
Yeah.
only because I want to succeed.
Yeah,
And so navigating it,
Yeah.
it needs to be done very
No,
expertly. Yeah.
sure, but yes, and everything you said, yes, thank you for saying all of that. And the fact of the matter is that I can be an Olympia advocating for us.
And we've lost people.
Oh, and we've lost people that can be advocates and I don't think it'll change without some pressure. So that's the one thing, when you asked me about the budget, that's the only thing that
The lead lobbyist on water was a gentleman named John Counts, and he left before he could get a commission. For Whatcom. And I spent 2 or 3 years talking to Liz Anderson about, hey, please hire another water person. And it's okay. They did.
See, and I don't think that Whatcom will take up our cause in quite the same way, because they oversee, they deal with all of Washington.
And I would love it for it to be Grant, but Grant is the ones, Grant is overloaded with requests for time.
Right.
And he works for the Ag Water Board, so it's, probably not the best person to do this because of all the different roles, all the different hats he wears. Right, we kind of need to bring someone up, and by the way, maybe it is somebody we already know. But we need to create this responsibility.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to choose a lobbyist today, but
No.
Yeah.
It would be, this contract over a certain size, we would
Yeah.
be approving it. Or
Yeah.
otherwise delegating it for, I guess I don't have a great sense of how much that contract would be, for the purposes of the budget. But.
Can you come back with
something we
something?
can, yeah.
Can staff come back with something?
Yeah.
Look into what would be a reasonable range.
Specifically for water storage, that's what I was hearing.
for specifically, but that's put in the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
Specifically, we were looking for an exemption for the foster decision, so that we can store water.
I forgot, let me see if we're on the same page. In the list that is, being identified for the August 13th meeting, is it the August 13th meeting that has a list of potential actions to improve water management? Is that?
Yes, the 13th and then the 17th is the very local taking place at.
But which one has a list of solutions attached to it?
That's the government's water initiative.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
The
just
13th meeting.
general,
Yeah.
or to all the meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, both meetings deal with the list of solutions. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you look at the list of solutions, right now, I'm less interested in this conversation we're having right now. I'm not so focused on the list of solutions. I'm focused on what are the barriers to pursue those solutions.
Right.
And foster is one of them.
Yes.
And I also recognize that part of this role of this, I'm gonna suggest maybe policy analyst / lobbyist. Because part of the responsibility I'd like to place in the lap of that person is to help figure out what are the other barriers, come back to the commission, and here's a plan I recommend to clear barriers for the solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another.
Are you okay with what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's another very significant barrier, and that's our use it or lose it clause.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Relinquishment.
relinquishment is a huge barrier to conservation, with all of these things we were discussed. And maybe
That's our August 7th meeting.
Yeah,
Talking
yeah,
specifically about
yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be something to talk about more on that, in the special
Yeah.
meeting included. I guess broadening it out, have we, I guess the last time, we did have a short-term contract with a federal lobbyist with the early beginning of this year, correct?
For geothermal.
We did.
And was it, since you two have been here longer than I have we ever contracted with an Olympia lobbyist directly, or?
We relied on Wakuda's lobbying
Right.
effort. Yeah,
Okay.
not us specifically. I'm guessing this is gonna be like in the $200,000. I'm only guessing that because the city of Lynn hired lobbyists years ago, so there's some projects that we were looking at. I'm guessing.
It's almost as bad as lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, almost, not quite,
Sometimes-
not quite.
I would say, I'm not gonna do this often, but I would say, if you get a better deal with lawyers, because at the end of the day, with a lawyer, you actually get useful documents. Rather than notional conversations about what was notionally discussed with a full army load of people. At least the lawyer will hand you a bunch of documents, that's, you know.
I mean, I'm also wondering if there are
Yeah,
other
that value.
governmental entities that would want to partner with us.
Yeah, I wrote down while you're talking,
Yeah,
funding pool.
right,
You know, we tend to approach the idea that, hey, we need to do studies and things on our own.
right, we don't.
And I think we need to figure out how we can, unify different groups. And everybody brings some funding to the table to get something done where there's common interest.
Right.
We may get more out of that than trying to self-fund
I-
individual things ourselves. The second point I'd like to make is, our funding strategy should be multi-year, rather than.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
An individual effort. There may be some things we can, yeah, where it's logical to do it in 1 year or less. Right, but some of the things we wanna be doing, is studying, we may wanna try to fund over multiple years. And you combine that with, a funding strategy involving other business partners. Maybe that starts becoming a lot more, feasible for us to be able to do these things. So to soften that up. I would like to point out that, I have a pretty big need, to fund, what I refer to as our asset management strategy. And, our engineering folks, in operations, we need to be identifying, a plan to replace our aging systems in our distribution network. And I don't think we have a firm plan right now. And so that's gonna take, some studies, and, time and effort to, put together a plan, that where we can do basically a phased replacement of our aging infrastructure. And this should be a living type of document or a program because it never stops, right? And so as soon as we build plant one, it goes into the plan that at some point, there's some big motor in there that we're gonna have to rewind in 15 years, right? And we start planning for that. But that plan doesn't exist right now, so that's something else we're gonna have to do internally to ensure the reliability and operation of our existing systems into the future, right?
Yeah,
Well, I absolutely support that. I'll do. Definitely would love to see, yeah, substantial investment in that in the budget.
All right,
was that a helpful conversation?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think.
Was that what you were looking for in a?
More or less, yeah. Yeah. Some ideas of the projects
Yeah,
that we
something
need to
just has to
include.
translate into some dollars.
Yeah,
for-
right, for a net, or
Yeah,
this is.
right.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's also about, I recognize that the RCWs and our identity as a special purpose district. Provide hard constraints, and one of the things that would be helpful for us in this conversation would be. For staff to help the commission understand. the reason behind the reason. You feel a little bit better than we perhaps do.
Yeah, so, we might be getting a little bit far afield from budget. So if I understand what you're saying, well, we're talking specifically now about the barriers.
To allocating money for things like,
Oh, okay,
yeah, like what we've been talking about. The reasons behind the reasons, meaning, you know. Understanding that as a special purpose district, we have a certain limit to how creative we can get with funding for things like this.
well, just, I haven't heard anything that's outside the scope.
Yeah, okay, good to hear that, but then we also had this, then there's the other aspect, this accountability to customers, right? So, stacking in one way or another, this shows up in the rates.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and I think that, understanding how to manage that and what's, reasonable from perhaps a. One way to look at money spent on studies, is that is when it essentially increases the robustness of the organization. I totally see that, for example, with energy storage and everything you brought up. It makes us more robust. I have a harder time seeing what we brought up here. Because we're talking about growth. Or initiatives to support the community. That's where we get, I think that's, I've been at it for a few years, and so I feel like that's the issue, is that special purpose districts, the subject of growth for a special public district is a very touchy, delicate subject. We don't have a way to grow, fund growth. And I respect the wisdom of all the policy and law that's gotten us so the way we are. I also feel like Whatcom PUD is a little unique in that regard. In that we, kind of service a chunk of the county, and the reason I ran for office, I got elected is because I want to serve the whole town. So that is by definition a growth mandate. And so, but how do we grow and serve the entire county? And that is really what has always presented a challenge. We've managed that challenge. I'm not disappointed, but it's something that we continue to think about. So.
True. I was, just as a reminder here on our timeline, sorry, can we have as a reminder here on our timeline for the remainder of the budget process, is this gonna be a standing agenda item? When's our next, when would our next session be?
It hasn't been in the past. Usually like we get your input, and we've now had two sessions or two discussions on getting your input. And then we start formulating, and I get all the feedback from staff. And then the first draft is usually presented at the end of October. And then the
Right.
final draft at the end of November.
Right, yeah, the thought was last year, just wondering if this is something we may want to, if they would recognizing hearing too much from us while it's in process might be too much, but are we gonna want to talk about it again for October before we see a draft, or would that be something better done?
I guess, what
Yeah.
would you talk about? I mean, would you give me more projects to add to the budget? Is that what you're thinking, or what are you thinking?
Well, I guess I don't know, I'm thinking more just as far as like how the whole thing comes together. If you want to add something in the low six figures for some placeholders, that seems appropriate. And as we can figure out those numbers, it seems like, but that's sort of what we've thrown back, but I don't. well, okay, I guess one just parameter, I'm hoping that we're not, I'd like, I don't wanna see us, raising charges on our customers.
Oh, we're going to. That's,
Uh,
there's no getting around that right now.
right, I understand there's many reasons they can take for that, but I guess just having a better idea of how that's shaping up before we get to finalizing it, in the fall.
Well, if based on last budget, the industrial is projected to go up 17% this year. And then the others are also going up, not quite as much, but so, like Commissioner Deshmani said, anything that we add on top of that is increased rate pressure. So, that's with this bonds, with the 25 bonds and the Plant One rebuild, there's no getting around significant rate increases for the next several years.
Right, as there has been the last couple of years, for our capital projects.
Yeah, primarily driven by the capital.
Yeah, and that's all I understood that was gonna be, I know it's all been laid out, for,
Rate study.
right,
But that's not because we're footloose and fancy free with our.
No,
That's just the reality of utilities.
I think I will have a little bit of an answer to my own question today, because I've been thinking while we've been talking. And the answer to my own question is this. If there's investigations and studies that need to be done that make the organization, operationally more robust, I personally, speaking for myself, am supportive of that. If there are, mechanisms and opportunities for us to, explore growth initiatives, I think pretty much relegated to tactical approaches rather than long-term strategic approaches. For example, if we get a unexpected windfall from the combined settlement of, the legal matter versus the county matter, close kind of legal, then we might have an opportunity to have some funds for that kind of thing. And then when we do, then we can spend that money wisely. But as much as I personally would love long-term strategic growth money, I don't, and particularly in our current situation where we're doing so much capital, these massive capital projects, I don't see a rational way to fund it on that.
Are you looking at lobbying as a growth thing? I mean, we are primarily a water utility.
yeah, it says like maintain your core interests.
Yeah, so I don't see that as, yes,
It's very,
Yeah.
it's normal to have, many utilities just have a public affairs,
Right.
full-time staff person who would be lobbying on our behalf on things like this.
yeah, and we don't.
So no, I think that's, yeah, like a contract on something this.
I mean, I would support that, I support you guys in going in that direction.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that everything in the barriers to solutions, or even the whole list of solutions, go beyond our immediate purview. They do. They do go beyond our immediate purview.
Yeah, they may, and that's where.
They're countywide, yeah.
That isn't necessarily a direct budget line, right? That's our, how we.
and because they do, I think that's why it would be we would make great partners with other people that are interested in hiring lobbyists. I just see this, so I heard three things that we're looking at: asset management, perhaps money for a lobbyist, and perhaps money for additional studies. In my mind, asset management is clearly has to be number one. And then if we can allocate some money for lobbying and find partners with us, that would be beautiful.
Yes,
And then studies, I mean, we don't have like a firm idea of what that looks like right now, so that's bottom of the list. for
No,
me.
I,
Yeah.
as much as I love it, I agree
Yeah.
with you, as much as I wanna do that, I agree with you, and also. We also don't have, it's hard to generate, a budget mandate
Mhm.
for it. For the obvious reasons that we've already talked about in the conversation.
So I don't think we came to any kind of agreement commissioning a study, right? I think, like, and when Phil last brought it up, I was generally supportive of like, yeah, having some placeholder for the study, however, it really, I think it would make sense if it can be, if it can be achieved through grant opportunity, as we have staff exploring now.
Right,
Or through some kind of windfall, and I don't know if we wouldn't necessarily need to be in our. Start in our 27 budget in order to, you know, if that grant comes through next year, right, then that's just an amendment, isn't it?
right,
So I mean, I don't think, yeah, there wouldn't be a way to justify like mentioning for private
I
instead.
agree with you, I mean, even though I brought it up, I totally agree with you, and, I think it just as, we just have to, you know, come look for those opportunities, grant opportunities, working with our state legislators. Who have the ability to help in for those kind of things, and also, other people, city kind of wherever we find opportunity. So, agree with you completely.
Right.
Now, let's get back to what Jamie brought up. So, what Jamie brought up is that, we should, and remember, you're recognizing the things that affect, what I call robustness, is number one, number two being this, policy. Where, maybe at our next meeting, it's not really. I don't, we should have some kind of a proposal about how we might consider doing that, back from staff. Is that a reasonable ask from our commission then? Yeah. Can you guys, three of you, ponder that question and come back to us with something for us?
Yeah, I also think, the staff has some work to do internally to try to identify, rate neutral opportunities, right? For, bringing money forward. And basically what I'm saying is, within our current operations, where can we save money? Right, and then that would create, some sort of, opportunities, right? So I think, as we take a look at the budget, I think it'd be helpful if the commissioners came to an understanding of, hey, what studies do we may want to potentially do, right? And then have an idea of what the priority is for those studies. And so when we do have, opportunities to fund, some studies, which ones will we pull? Because we're gonna have, say, a list of 10, but we can only do 4. So which ones would we really want to do? I think that's something you'll have to kick around, but you don't have to solve that today, right? I think we need to start creating, an understanding how much, funding we can set aside, and then work with that.
So, I know there's some meetings coming up, you and Eddie have a meeting coming up with, VP, and, there's some other conversations happening, your meeting that's coming up will have an impact on what I'm about to say, but one of the things that, I've had, informal conversations with people with, both the customers, and people that are not currently customers, but, you know, could potentially be, and that is, subject of cogeneration. In collaboration with the refineries, that would be an excellent study, but again, I'm betting that we could find external funding for that work. With this, I should mention, maybe you all, the commission, we haven't all heard the news, the port was awarded industrial symbiotics, grant, support, and cogeneration is very sweet stuff of that. So that particular project, could also create further support for a cogeneration study for the PUD working with, multiple industrial players in the Cherry Point area. I'd like it to be, when you guys have your meeting, I'd like it to be on the agenda, there's a potential real important opportunity there. So that's just one example of a kind of study that you might consider.
Okay, but if we were gonna put this in the budget, it would be, if there's a grant opportunity that's open now that we're applying for, and, you know, then we draw the numbers from that, if we decide to do that, right, then it would make it in the budget, or otherwise. If it's something that we expect comes up next year, we might put it in as a placeholder, is that?
Yeah, I don't-
If we decide to do that.
I don't know, and historically, Annette, have you put, expected grant funding in the budget or not? Okay, you can't hear you.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. We have in the past, wished for, hoped for, maybe grants because they're rate neutral, they're budget neutral. It's a cost in, cost out. Most grants, we have to be a little careful because there have been some that were only a 50% reimbursement. So I could easily put in a potential grant and feasibility study, but just to show it there, assuming we'll get grant funding on that.
Um, well, I just had one additional thing that I was gonna bring up in commissioner reports, but just since we're in, budget discussion to flag it, the Washington PD Association at, the board of directors meetings, this month, they came up that, because there's a need for, capital improvements to the Wakuda office building in Olympia. We're basically, the board is approved and agreed to be levying additional dues proportionally on the utilities for that, and I think our share, for the first round, I think it's the first of 2 rounds, in the next few years is about $7,000.
Yeah, we've received that invoice or that notice.
That's a 2026 adjustment, right?
Yes.
But just to, just make sure you're all aware in case it, needs to be accounted for and, on some budget, but I think, I agree with what Jamie said before, though, asset management is #1 priority, right? If we were to, set aside some money for lobbying, also make sense that, that if we're going the route of, the direct contracts, right, there might be other things we might, in our direct interest that can come up, we might want to lobby on as well, or otherwise, as the default, right, we directly engage, on behalf of the utility and, through our associations and through that and all of that, but, I think we pretty much chopped out, right? Parameters. But we want to move on.
I think so. Do you guys have all the information that you need?
Yes, thank you.
I think we have a lot to act on. And
Okay.
get back here. Yeah.
Well, why don't we go ahead and, I think just because some staff are waiting for it, let's move on to resolution number 902 to approve closure of emergency incident repair Douglas Road Undervolt water meter valve by P Excavating LLC. Garrett, could you?
Yeah, so again, this is what we brought up in the office report. This is just the approval to close out the emergency clause for resolution 902. Total for that project was $32,688.03. So that involves all the emergency repairs that we did on that situation that started in June 25th. I think it's been pretty well covered. Kurt brought it up a few times in the past, and we talked about it earlier this morning. Any questions on it?
No, I'm good.
No, that was one of the questions earlier.
Yeah. I'll move to approve resolution number 902, approving the closure of emergency incident for repair of Douglas Road Puncher Vault water meter and valve by P&P excavating.
I'll second.
Your motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. And yeah, I think now would be a good time to take our halfway break, or maybe more than halfway, right? But before we move on to our next resolution item, let's recess for 5 minutes and resume at 9:35.
All right.
Now we are resumed from recess. And moving to our next item of business is resolution number 903 by the Board of Commissioners, adopting a large electric load policy. And we have discussed this at prior meetings. Do we have, just I guess to kind of frame out and get a roadmap on this, are we the commissioners feel like we need to have some substantial discussion of this? You're looking at me,
No, I just want to point out, because I know that all of us were CC'd in an email received from a constituent, with some feedback on this policy.
I saw that.
Yeah, they had asked that we first of all, they said that they appreciate the policy and that it looks well written. But they had asked for perhaps another whereas that sort of outlines the fact that this is a land use issue and that we have no purview over that. And, I don't know that that's necessary to like, in a whereas clause to line out that like, ooh, this actually has other implications, but I wanted to bring it up because it was so nice to receive feedback.
Yeah, no, I think, as far as, it's a whereas clause,
Yeah.
so it's not a be resolved, but I like the idea of mentioning, the land use is outside of our scope, because a lot of people in the public who might be confused, and as being the lead, local government on this policy. Other people will, I'm for sure, I know county councils have, I've spoken to councilmen, I have them look at it. And they will use this as a reference point. So for that reason, I think that to mention, that would be very helpful, that,
Will you read that out for us?
whereas the commission acknowledges that large loads may present land use and environmental conditions that could adversely impact existing customers. And I would actually like to add existing customers and the community, and are outside the scope of PUD's authority to review or regulate, but which are impacted by PUD's policy. And that's the end of that final clause.
Well, I guess. First off, I'll just see if staff have, advice on that,
So,
Can you reread it?
no, I heard a couple things in there. I heard like somehow the policy impacts it, the PUD's policy is now impacting it. There's a lot of like threads in there that I'm not.
I think it's saying that the large load may impact, existing customers
Yes.
or the
That's how-
public in general. I guess the next statement is, but we don't do land use.
yeah.
I'm just add that, just if I may interject, I don't want to interrupt your flow, but it's not really, I don't even want to put it in terms of large load, that just immediately conjures up the PUD side. I think what we're really talking about is a land use.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes,
That's all I'm saying, yeah.
right, and I think that was where I had, again, why I appreciated, constituents, encouraging us on this and coming with, engagement. The phrasing, my first reaction wasn't, I'm not comfortable with the phrasing of the language, just, I think because this policy again is it's about the load. It's not about the land use that the load is serving. And I think inserting that sort of gives a tone as if, that we're doing this because of the land use or something, and it's I think also just as far as like, impact the Yeah, like new developments can impact their neighbors, right? That's always the case. Whatever it might be, we only have one existing customer. You know, do we need to name what's not in our purview?
That's what, yeah, that's what I was
That's a
saying,
question.
that's when you does it need to be, I don't
It's
know.
it's in code,
Yes,
right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the extensive conversation.
Yeah.
In our last meeting, if you recall, we dove into this issue and, you know, that's email exchange I had with Peter, and we talked about that, exactly about this, how, land use is outside the scope of the PD, and then so our vehicle for communicating as commissioners is as a plan, is like a planning commission to provide advice to the council if it's appropriate on land use aspects. And there are two ways to look at this particular clause. One is it's informational, but I also recognize that our communication to the council is something we will do if we deem it appropriate. And putting any more language in this resolution may or may not. May not really be helpful.
Yeah,
That communication.
right, I mean, granted, it's like, it's in the recital, it's not in the policy, but. You know, I thought of like, oh, you know, adding more about, impacts to existing customers within one of the other, you know, existing recitals, I think it's pretty much stated. Or at least the idea is stated there that, or would you read it as, I mean, you know, while ensuring that existing customers are protected. You know, there's, probably the only thing is if we wanted to add, you know, put something in there to that effect,
I think the piece, I think that particular piece is redundant, right? Because if we do call out that customers are protected, because I think customers are protected. The thing that then is what I led with was that it felt to be a comment on land use or,
Yeah.
and that's already established within the RCW where we are with land use. So I
so
don't.
you were proposing that.
No, but I wanted to just open up the discussion and actually, so I guess this might be a good time to say. But prior to the meeting, I had asked, Peter, because when I was on the council for the city of Blaine, when we would get, emailed communication, our, clerk of the board at the beginning of the meeting would state what that emailed communication was for all to hear. And we don't do that here. And so I just wanted to like honor the fact that this person had, I know that they had emailed us all of that because your names were on the email.
Yeah.
And I responded to her individually and thanked her for the comment, but I just wanted to bring it up because not everybody can be here for public comment. But that doesn't mean that people aren't trying to reach out to the board publicly. So I kind of wanted to like get it out there, have a discussion about it, because I thought it was, you know, valuable to this conversation, so.
Well, I appreciate that, and glad you responded, and yeah, absolutely right, sometimes, you know, like, I mean, the morning schedule of our meetings is not, suitable to all members of the public, right? So we always encourage, you know, email, phone call, however, and that's what we're here for as a commission, so the public. I guess, I was wondering if there was any other, do either you have
No, I mean,
proposals for?
I think where we're at is that we don't need that, this particular language, is that where you?
Yes,
where you got it
yeah.
at? I was open to it, but I feel like, you know, we've already talked about this. The only other thing that occurs to me is that if if the commission thinks it might be beneficial to add something that's an affirmative statement instead of a negative statement. That's not this language, but that says something of the RCWs. Identify the PUD's role as, you know, this, and just make clear that it doesn't include, like, I don't know.
Oh, it's just like as far, like really for
Just
the,
the same with the
as far as
RCW.
the
or whatever.
Information, really, it's about information to the general public, should they be reading the resolution, right?
So you want a clarifying statement in here that basically says, hey, we do planning associated with our infrastructure, the infrastructure of our utility systems.
I'm asking these guys if they
Okay.
think it's any benefit and your input, whether you think that would be helpful too.
You
Or
know,
might be overthinking it. I'm just,
yeah, I don't know, that might be,
So I can propose something, it isn't, if you guys say, no, we don't want that, that's fine, it's just an idea along the lines of what you're saying.
it's like, okay, so we did a little bit of sausage making, right? And all I'm just trying to do is give a little bit of visibility to the sausage making that happened, but that may or may not be helpful. I'm just throwing it out there for you guys to think about. If you think it's a good idea, let's consider it, let's ask Peter to do it. If we don't think it's necessary, I'm not attached to it either way. I'm just bringing it up for you, Jamie and Eddie to consider.
I mean, I think if you're gonna do that, like, it might be in the first, where, you know, that, what, you know, we provide electric utility service to a single commercial customer within the purview of our, I don't know. I don't think it's necessary, but that's where I would put it,
Okay.
like, within the guidelines of, that's where I would put it. I don't just know how to say it, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine the way it is.
And this can be changed.
Yeah.
Once,
you know, it's-
we can easily update this.
Jamie and I want stone tablets.
Yes.
And the minutes can
Thank
also
you.
reflect, the minutes can also reflect the discussion, which is not a Michael Warehouse clause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, so, but just to clarify, there's, okay, so, yeah, appreciate like taking our pods to consider if we want to add anything, but we don't have a proposal to amend the resolution.
I'm not attached to it at all.
I think this is I agree with them, it's a great policy, all in all, they had one line that, you know, which is wonderful, so, I mean, I'm ready to.
I'm ready to go down there.
You wanna make the motion?
I'll go ahead and make,
So,
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution 903 as presented on large electric load policy.
well, second.
We have a motion and a second, and I don't think we have any other need for discussion. I do see a hand raised before maybe, yeah, Joseph, would you?
Yes, just real quick, I don't want to interrupt, but I do want to get clarification per Peter's point. Is there something explicit that you would like stated in the minutes for the record, based on your discussion of what you've received from constituency to, basically, I want to highlight your discussion and put in anything directly that you would like stated.
I would like to refer to the relevant RCWs, if you can just put those citations and get them from Peter that we talked about in the last meeting, that identify the roles of the PD as it relates to, planning
Yeah, the RCW citation. So that we can say it was referenced here is RCW 5404-120. Which has a specific provision that talks about some planning functions, but says that this section shall not be construed to grant the power to adopt, regulate, or enforce comprehensive plans, zoning, land use, and building codes, and that's specifically in the PD statute. So I can get that to you, Joseph.
Perfect, and I will just note in the minutes then that was discussed and made clear that we follow this statute to the letter.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't have that number memorized. It's a good one. It's a good one. It should have been on the top of my. That's a great number. Yeah, one of the best numbers out there.
Okay, no further.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think Andrew's here today, right?
No.
But just express appreciation, our staff for their work on this, and that it does. I'd say I really appreciate that, I introduced this idea, we discussed it. What we had in mind was very, precisely and concisely captured and put into form in this policy, and so that's why none of us had any, need to change it or red line or anything, because it's pretty much looks exactly what we had in mind. And appreciate that we held it for a couple weeks just to give opportunity for members of the public to respond, but I didn't hear anything from our existing electric customer about it. I don't, the staff didn't get it.
No, I've got a reply back.
Which I assume just means it says this is also suitable to their interest, and so it's we should all be in good order. And just thanks everyone, and recognizing that if it needed, we can add to this in the future. But we'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Resolution approved unanimously and adopted. And next, all we have is commissioner reports.
Yes.
Starting with Jason.
Very brief, so thank you for covering the one through the meetings.
Well, actually, I made a mistake. Eddie is the alternate for the board of directors,
And
and he stepped in.
did you alternate?
I did.
He alternate.
Yeah.
He was there.
Okay.
But it's all joined on Zoom, I think, because you were.
Yeah, but then when they said all in favor and and they called Whatcom, I said aye, and Eddie said I'm Eddie, and then Eddie sent me a message saying, oh, I think I'm the.
Yeah, no, they confirmed that there.
Just FYI.
Well, good, okay, good to know who my alternate is. I
We had
really,
double
I
alternate.
really like making it to those meetings, so we were making a rather merry on celebrating. So,
Wonderful.
That's a good thing.
You really only missed the talking about the building mainly.
okay, okay. We've had a couple meetings where we. spent a lot
Oh,
of
I
time
know.
talking about the building.
Yeah, and I think you brought up the word green, but there was no one so.
Okay, I have a meeting with Carl Weimer tomorrow, which I'm excited about, because we both are just as dorky about water, so we should be able to solve all of the world's problems tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. And I do wanna just, because you all were at the Wapoo meetings and asked if it's that sort of, yes, they're asking the public about electric and, if anything exciting came of that conversation. Was there a conversation? Was
Well,
there?
hey, was there any?
Yeah, so they were opening public comment, I guess, to see how,
Any public input?
yeah, how
Wasn't it
receptive,
municipalization?
yeah, municipalization.
I mean, I briefly chatted about it with one of their commissioners, right, who sat in on the electric policy committee for the first time, because, now they're talking about, venturing into electric. Granted, they're water and telecom, right?
And wastewater.
And wastewater, right?
Yeah.
So I heard, I think our Wapoo meetings were shortly before their public hearing. I saw a news article about it. I think like what they're really entertaining right now is putting something to the ballot to, for a voter approval to become an electric utility like we are, not necessarily to, take over any electric infrastructure, like, for Whatcom, right, that was passed in like the 1950s.
Yeah, so they just want to keep the door open.
Like they could always become, they could start serving customers. Or not, but that's a future step. So I think, people in the town hall, as I understand it, a lot of people are talking about, taking over, service from PSC, and that's, but I think right now the commission is just. They're hearing from the public about it, they're open to the conversation. Of course, they're also hearing from PSC about it, and.
Yeah.
It's, I just, let them know that, if they, I don't know, just that we're, the new mentor and guidance, we can chat about it if they wanted, but we didn't really discuss it like, so.
Okay. For continuity, we did a feasibility study, for municipalization, 4 years ago. And we arrived at the conclusion that now is not the time. But we did say that we would continue to sort of check in on that to sort of keep our thumb on the pulse of that, but our guy retired. So,
Well, I feel like the next step on that is, the Lemonade has completed their municipal business study. The general manager who had, was very engaged in that left, and so they, I'm trying to get a meeting scheduled with the Lemonade and their new GM, for Chris in the next few weeks. One of the topics of that conversation will be the municipalizations, their municipal study, and the opportunity, we actually supported on the front end. The initiation of their study, which began 2 years ago. When that got initiated, they asked us for names of who to use, and they hired the contractor we suggested, and so it's gone through many stages. There was a lot more intake involved for them than there was for us. And so, a lot of delays with the shifts of priorities and general managing, all that stuff, but, that work is, there's, output reports and, it'll be a topic of discussion. That'll be one topic. I see two topics of discussion, that, and the second one being, of course, I do expect natural resources organization. Water, in other words. So, all right.
great.
I wanted to dovetail on what you.
No, that's great. Yeah, it came up, in a conversation. It just reminds me every now and then that we can keep up on them.
Well, some disposition would be, I'm calling it some disposition, of the entire county would be pretty cool too.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure, for our study and, other utilities, the general public. There's something in the report, we're open to expanding our service, but, I think any utility might, at this point, probably would have a hard time, providing service at lower rates and greater reliability than their existing provider, so. That's something but if that's the role of the public utility, right, is to ensure that if we can do a better job, then we should, but that's not the conclusion at this point. So I'm, oh yeah, sorry, good morning.
Nope, I'm finished.
You're done with the report. Oh, I guess I'm next. Unless you're just rearing to go.
I don't know.
I have some report outs. I just need to gather my notes for a second.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and go quick. Tony had a meeting, with P66 new public relations, person, her name's Melanie Ivy. She's coming in at noon tomorrow.
Right.
And early next week, we'll do lunch with, softball again second, we'll go to the two meetings, that are on the books. I want to let you all know that I will not be attending in person our commission meeting in August, second one. I'm going to a conference in DC with the Racial Equity Commission, August 24th to 28th, which is our commission meeting the 25th, so I'll attend via Zoom. That commission, I will attend, but I'll do it via Zoom. I'm pretty sure the report for there. And if I have something comes up, I'll let you know. Start out before the meeting and stuff. What was our meeting notes then?
Okay.
What's that?
What was the meeting with them? I'm sorry, what was it?
And in August, our second commission meeting, I won't be attending in person, I'll be attending via Zoom.
Oh, you'll just be attending it soon.
And the reason is because I'll be in Washington DC. With the Racial Equity Commission, a couple people from the Racial Equity Commission, attending a conference called Policy.
Okay.
And since I'll be in DC, you know, if there's anything, really, thing beneficial I can do for the community that week, I'd be glad to do it.
Uh. Well, maybe, well, this will be the time to convey if there was, right?
No, that's funny, time. Second meeting on.
Second meeting, sorry. Okay, well, I attended the Wakuda meeting in Okanagan, OMAC. Very, very pleasant visit out there, beautiful country.
No smoke.
They're actually, while I was there, there was actually kind of a rain, a bit of some rain, heavy rain came in, some thunder and lightning, and then I think, perhaps kind of ironically, the lightning started a bunch of fires. And, the smoke kind of popped up, overnight while I was there, and, I saw, other parts of Okanagan were really getting hellfire, and, we battled there's actually multiple electric utilities in Okanagan County, but, yeah, I understand like one of their commissioners who wasn't independent as a lineman for another utility was out there fighting the wildfires while we were having meetings and really looked bad. You know, but I guess in that part of the state, they're really used to it, and this wasn't, you know, truly not the most severe, on people's, scale of experience. And, they're, kind of hot common themes as usual. I was in the energy and the policy governance affairs committees. I think most substantial was a bill that the Wakuda staff have cooked up that I think you probably saw maybe end of June or beginning of July was emailed out for feedback, but basically it's an amendment to the Clean Energy Transformation Act, carving out some alternate compliance pathways in lieu of renewable energy credits to make up for, there's that in 2030, root utilities, we have to be 80% carbon free and net neutral, right? Net zero, I think where the remaining 20% within that really just, for most of, I think almost all but one of our public utility districts. It's in the unspecified resources that are really outside of anyone's control that can come into our resource mix through PPA. It's very small percentage for anyone, but where that might have to be made up in renewable energy credits, the idea is that the credit can be achieved through direct investments in grid reliability and distributed energy resources and improvement with storage and a variety of things, but just internal investments within the community's facilities that don't necessarily directly translate to additional renewable energy generation, but or additional renewable energy generation would be credited at a higher rate. But basically that was sort of what they came up with. The idea being it's better to keep our dollars spent here serving customers than through paying a credit for some renewables generated somewhere else outside the service area. So that was generally supported by the utilities. There was some discussion. I abstained from voting, really because I think what we talked about mainly applied to the utilities that had a distribution system. And I hadn't had a chance to talk about it with you two, but it was some general support was given to kind of pursue this and engage with other stakeholders. I think we have to see what the investor and utilities are going to say, because they're, it probably benefits them more than us. So we'll be hearing more about it, discussing it more in probably the fall meeting before we go into the legislative session. But it did strike me as the kind of thing I think that our legislative delegation would support, probably, with some adjustments and the details, and of course, it's gonna evolve, but I think the general idea, is probably workable. And, my knee jerk is to have some discomfort with trying to poke holes in Denison, in CETA, but, where it really does serve the interest of utilities and makes sense, and, I'm personally, I'd rather see dollars spent in state than just paid direct, we can incentivize that, but I do think that the existing law already incentivizes that in the structure, so, it's where, I don't know, but I think it's okay. I just like to be able to continue conversation, maybe work with staff on it some, if they think that would be helpful, and, we don't know how to apply with the legislature yet, so.
But wasn't Representative Bramwell very supportive of this?
Well, that's where I would like to discuss with him, because I'm not, I don't think they've talked to him about this specific proposal.
Okay, because, there was a meeting that Rep. Bramwell had with Water staff about distributed generation,
Uh-huh.
and this came up in that meeting.
Okay, so they have.
I think whenever people, whenever there's an opportunity for common ground, it can lead to something next. So, I feel like they had common ground on this, as well as some PG policy, distributed generation policy.
Hmm.
That, giving some PDs some opportunities for supporting distributed generation. And, for that reason, my personal bias and bent was, oh, this is good. Collaborative stuff happening. That's good. It's good for Wapuda, and it's good for, progressive policy, it's the legislation, so. And, that's kind of what I like.
Okay, I actually hadn't gotten that, was,
Okay,
but
but you could double check on that.
yeah, I was going to, and, yeah, it's one of those things that it'll probably evolve a little bit, but, it's a constructive proposal, right? So yeah, I hope that, yeah, Representative Brown was interested. So that was, when was the meeting you were talking about? Was it?
It was about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago.
Okay, yeah, I mean.
I remember Nicholas talking to me about it. I checked it with Nicholas. And by the way, this particular thing, is something that Nicholas has been talking about for 34 years, you see the, flexibility for local investment.
They have been, yeah, and it's somewhat, it actually sort of mirrors a bill that we were able to get passed, I think last session. That was, not the CETA, but amending the, what's the other bill from the 2000s called? That's the renewable portfolio target,
Yeah.
Energy Defense Act.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so anyway, I just gotta make a note of that, cause that was probably where there was the most in-depth discussion. They did share their kind of interim legislative priorities and stuff that, I think it's accessible to you all if you want to take a look at it. But, we're talking about a lot, I guess the next biggest thing is about full attachments. And, I guess there's a lot of engagement with actually the FCC, federal entities now of rulemaking, we're concerned, basically deciding what some other utilities are experiencing is that, other entities are able to go and work on their poles without notifying them. Major problem, so trying to get that corrected in this rulemaking, for, of course, just like safety reasons above all.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious, yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't experienced that, right? I wouldn't expect.
Nobody's messing with our poles.
I haven't been made aware of the problem. Yeah, really probably more the opposite, right? Or, didn't even
haven't within 100 feet of another utilities poles, but, okay. So, yeah, it's, well, sorry, just, I don't know, I guess the other big thing is just, we'll put Nick Garcia and Liz, the director, they let me know they really hear, they're here, they wanna help, if there's anything they can do to support us in pursuing geothermal. And I don't know if there really is at this point in the stage that we're at,
Not
but,
right now, that's, I don't expect that.
yeah, and granted, we got getting budget provisos, things like that, and that shouldn't be, that's something we should be able to do regardless and have before, but, as far as regulatory solutions, I don't know, I think where we're at is, creep, long before any project, this is preliminary stakeholder engagement, and, I would like to, I'd like to learn more, and engage more with some of the folks that commented in the draft EA. You all haven't had any direct, any conversations about this, or?
I'm doing some investigations to figure out, there's an interesting correlation between the comments that were made at the geothermal event we were all at and, the, EA and, response to the Department of Ecology's geothermal assessment report. If you look at those, the EA and the geothermal assessment report, it looks like it came from the same party.
You can't be mysterious like that with me, because I don't know, to be very clear.
Maybe you should follow up with Jim on the subject, all right, another time, some of it is sensitive.
I think I know what you're.
Yeah,
maybe,
so, but anyway, but I'm trying to collect data and feed it to our GM.
Can anybody give me any insight?
And have you met with their, next site GM?
No, I've not yet.
But you've had interchange.
I've sent him an email asking him, if he'd like to get together.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with council member at the Mid-Sec Tribe about this whole subject, as well, and there's a lot of fact finding going on, about what's behind the, oppositional statements, and.
So are we saying that we may not be able to lease property because in this area because it is an issue with tribal governments, other tribal, but not necessarily Nooksack, but other tribal governments?
There's no barrier to, well, the leasing will be through auction, right, but it's.
Yeah.
Can there be ground disturbance, will permits be obtained through that process and some more uncertain, so.
Yeah, there's a process that's occurring within the Associated Tribes of the Northwest.
Yeah,
Where this will be all sorted out.
I do think, I've thought about this quite a bit, and I could be way off base, but I also sort of kick myself for not thinking of it, that when we started having these conversations about geothermal, we did go to Soxhawk, we did go to, some of the different tribes.
Upper Skagit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Upper Skagit and Nooksack, because I think that's where we thought, oh, well, this was previous territory. But as somebody that worked in commercial fishing for a lot of years and who grew up in a family that worked in commercial fishing, that just because that might be your ancestral territory doesn't mean that you don't have existing sort of agreements with other tribes that they get to hunt it, right? Just out here in 7A is what we call it, that those fishing grounds are traditionally Lummi and Nooksack fishing grounds, but they have very old agreements with all the way down to Suquamish that they can come up and fish. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if any of that exist, they may have hunting rights and, that exist far beyond the.
Absolutely, it exists. And
Yeah.
just to be clear, in my conversations with staff and with, council members of the Nooksack tribe. They are completely aware that they are in the place to hold this conversation amongst the tribes. And it's, something that they're doing. And it's really outside, I mean, so when we decided to pursue the geothermal project, the flavor of the conversation that occurred between myself, Christine Grant, and Mike Murphy on identifying the Nooksack Tribal Department wasn't, oh, it would be nice to have the Nooksack Tribal Department. That was not the conversation. The conversation was, we aren't doing this project without the Nooksack Tribe as
Right.
partners. And boy, was that prescient. Boy, was that prescient, because, it's that close, that real solid, from the foundation commitment that will get us through these road bumps. I believe we'll get through these road bumps, but it's patience now. Now it's time to be patient.
I want to say something about that, and it came up also with broadband, and I think that I've been unclear in my stance, and that when we have agreements with tribal nations, or when we like work on projects together, like those, like I don't like that we say these are roadblocks for us to circumvent, right? Because it makes it feel like adversarial to me. Like these are, like, this is as you know, these are sovereign nations with vested interests, and if they decide that this ancestral land is not land that we need to be working on, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
roadblock to be circumvented.
Yeah.
It's an honoring that
And
this
that's the way
is,
we've
yeah,
done it this Monday.
yeah.
Yeah,
So same, that was my same feeling with broadband, and I regret that I wasn't as clear. That because you were like, well, I can talk to Lummi, and I'm like, well, to me, it seemed very clear they were saying no. And, we need to take that note.
And we did take it.
Yeah, and we did take that, yeah.
And yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I don't look at any of this as roadblocks. That's not really that's not how I'm thinking about it. Really agreeing with what you're saying, Gene. We can and should only do this if we do it at the right location in the right way.
Yeah.
And right now, all this preliminary process, we're looking at a vastly huge and disparate geographical area of where potentially work might happen. So naturally, when the only public comment is on that, you're gonna get all the concerns of where there needs to be protections or avoidances, right? And, from the draft EA, we came out where things weren't completely clear from that, what was being concluded. But in the comments that came to light from the state collaborative process report out, they're all perfectly legitimate concerns. And again, it's like, it doesn't, like, where the whole reason, right, that things were set out this way and funded to do this for the state or the college to do their studies of engagement, and all of this, and it's good it's all happening in advance of our next steps. It's so that we can figure out like where and how could we do the project right, presumably on previously disturbed land, with the right parameters around it. So, I still think the door is far from being closed on that process of coming to, landing on a place and a plan.
And if you read the comment letter from the Nooksack tribe and our comment letter, they are very much about exploring, demonstrate a clear interest on both parties, interest in finding that pathway.
Right, and I just want to proceed cautiously, but where everything that's come up is clearly to be expected and absolutely appropriate at this point of the stage to be raising these concerns so that we, by the time we get to having a real project proposal, it is better constructed And, you know, all that, I think there'll probably be a little bit of time, I imagine, before the final assessment, but, yeah, I guess it is all just to say, it's like, you know, I talked about this with Tony a little bit, and it doesn't seem like there is much for staff to be doing at this point. It does seem to be in the realm of, I think the commission, and it's being our initiative to, just, you know, find out more, but of course, recognizing that the NOSAC, our partner here, are engaging with other tribes in HNI, and where all we want is just to be kept up to date, like, as, you know, so we don't go tripping over ourselves. That's amazing, and, likewise, I guess on that thread, Energy Northwest is exploring geothermal potential as well. And they're, yeah, they're serious about it. They're actually assessing over a much wider geography than the state of Washington, right, which is being well covered by us and, you know, by the state right now, and they've been looking and identifying areas. They're seeing a lot more promise and potentially, I think, in Idaho.
That was huge, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that they're gonna be, well, I would like us to just, you know, stay, in our staff to stay, you know, stay connected with EN in, any ways that, you know, they can support us or vice versa, but, building on the work that we've done together, so, I don't have anything to say about that, but.
I don't have anything further,
But yeah, whether, you know, where they have, I just heard similar things from them as from Pluto, right, where they'd love to work with us and support us where it makes sense. The other, I guess, just for things from my Energy Northwest meetings last week, this is the Tri-Cities again. The Ruby Flat Solar Project, got good news on that, where that seems to be moving forward, and will be yeah, they're seem to be coming to a resolution with getting an interconnection agreement for the 75 MW project, and where it'll all be, you know, a good and recoverable investment. So that was good news. There's the big thing, you know, besides
Do you remember what the price per megawatt hour is? You made that too? Or Carolina, $90 or $100, somewhere in there it was.
I think because they were only looking at, I think the financials, I don't recall that being there, because it's through, the financials we were looking at was like, the cost share borne by Energy Northwest, and not for which is only a small part of the whole project, and the, you know, privately financed. So I didn't see that yet, because I think they're not that step for the, agreement, and we're not
A customer.
we're not participating in the project, although I think that if we wanted to, the price of it doesn't make sense.
It's way out.
Yeah,
Way above anything we.
but I mean, of course, the big thing, was our new, you know, the new nuclear project. I was hoping to be getting a little bit more delivered, you know, more new information delivered at this meeting than we got. You know, we think there was a bit of discussion about, you know, just identification of, you know, the risks that are still out there, where things might not, you know, go as hoped, but no real revelations, and we're, you know, the staff are still working on it, so I'm hoping we're gonna get more and get more information in the fall before we're expected to pass a vote on a resolution. The executives from Amazon and X Energy did come out in person. They didn't really tell us how much, but you know, they were showing that they're serious about this, and serious about spending a lot of money on it, and I think they've already, quite a lot of money started to spend on the, just the pre-planning and engineering, and all that, so. We're, I don't know, I just, yeah, I just didn't think it's not, like, too much of it, we're still waiting for like those final details that we need to know before we could, make a decision. Yeah. And, otherwise, um, one of our special meetings coming up, and sounds like we're gonna have get some conversation plan coming up on that. I think that probably will as well, to talk about more then. And probably, we can move to public comment. And so, yeah, at this time, if anyone would like to address the commission about anything, if you're hovering on Zoom, needs to raise hand function at the bottom of the screen, not seeing anyone in the room. We'll close public comment. We don't have an executive session today.
We do one item for, bring up for, future meeting, and that is that, decide if we want to do a press release, on our large load electrical load policy.
A press release? I don't know. If,
I mean,
that,
like there's, in my newsfeed, I'm seeing large, policy statements on this all over the country, constantly.
that's true. Yeah, there's a lot. It is kind of a constant thing.
Yeah, it's a topic for discussion, not something that I'm asking for. I just want to put it on the agenda.
I think that's a good idea. I think you all should decide if.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah,
but
it's
just,
meeting.
I guess just to clarify on that, right, the plan as now is like, this is gonna get posted on the website or a blog post or something like that, or?
I don't have any plans to.
that's kind of what I'm saying. Let's discuss it at our next meeting.
I don't plan to do anything with it.
Okay.
I don't with the other policy.
Right.
I wouldn't.
No floats, large electrical load float. No.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, that's a good question, like, would there be a benefit to doing that at this point for us?
Yeah, it's 105 feet, and I don't want to.
I'm not gonna get,
Yeah, I'm
I
not-
was just planning to see, okay.
Yeah, and I want stuff now. I want us to do a little better for our next meeting, but this do one. And then I'll bring it up. Yeah. I'll bring it up our.
Okay, so.
Come on, I'll have a float designed by
Right.
then.
I won't be thinking about that for a while.
It's like a kind of Frankenstein thing, like a large electrical load kind of thing.
Okay.
well, okay, anything else we do to order?
Actually, commissioners, I have a little something for good of the order. If you, will indulge me for a couple of minutes, I'll be up.
Oh, please, go ahead, Joseph. Are you coming in the room?
I guess he must.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on his way.
Yeah.
It's like a surprise with some.
I do.
So,
Get some signatures.
yeah, no, so, kind of to go to the float thing. After the 4th of July parade, Andrew and I come into the office in the morning, I said, hey, did you get Lisa's text? Because there was no acknowledgement until I believe the Wayne newspaper came out.
Yeah.
And said that, we had won and there was no real trophy or anything for it, so Andrew and I were talking, and he said, well, what do we do? That's not right, there should be a trophy. So, what we did
Oh, my God.
Lisa.
Let's see it, Lisa. Got a Dr. Seuss hat on it. That's very cute. Thank you. Does it say we have floats on there?
It says champion float builder.
Nice.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Beautiful.
That's all I have.
Great, well, thank you.
Well done. Yeah, put that proudly on the desk.
I will.
Uh,
I was hoping for something larger.
Well, it's fine.
It's fine.
We have budget constraints.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, did that come out of the float budget? Or was that, I don't know, talk to me now.
half the stats. I really thought the food bank was giving us a run, but I mean,
Yeah.
just goes to show, like,
Yeah,
it was a hit.
we had cute kids. We did, I think we did. I mean, bubbles. It was a party. We brought a party.
Yeah, it was, yeah, good job, everyone. Good job, Lisa. And, well, thanks, everyone. It's 10:33 a.m., so I believe we will now. Oh, we did the public comment.
We did the second one?
Yeah. Nobody.
Nobody ever.
We will adjourn the meeting now.